Hello and welcome to the Pirates Fan Forum here on DK Pittsburgh Sports Podcast Network. I'm your host, Gary Morgan. With me, as always, my good friend, Jim Stam. How you doing, brother?
I'm doing good, man. Queen just already stole my thunder in the chat. She's saying happy home opener eve. I was going to go with that. So Queen is she can take it from here. I'm going to go.
Joining us too for the first time, my good friend from Facebook originally, and I think I've convinced him to follow me to Twitter. Unfortunately, I feel bad for it. Jim Maruca, say hello to everybody.
Hello, everybody.
This is going to be a fun talk. We've got an all-new Call Your Shot format that we're launching tonight. We've got some transactions that happen. We've got 5 full games to talk about. Did anything happen there? We'll talk about that. We've got demotions, promotions, all-stars being shipped out. I mean, how do we get it all in, Jim?
We do our best and go over usually, so that's how we'll probably do it tonight.
Well, let's get started. First thing we have to talk about, and we won't do these in order of when they happen, but the Pirates just announced that Alexander Canario is being added to the 26-man Major League roster, and as predicted, Ji-hwan Bae has been optioned to AAA Indianapolis. In addition, Jason DeLay, who had been DFA'd, has been traded to the Braves for cash money.
So what do you think? We love it in Pittsburgh.
What do you think, Mr. Maruca? Is Ji-hwan Bae the right guy to go? Is this Canario guy something we should look forward to?
Yeah, it's definitely the right move. I will confess that I was excited about Bae in spring training. I mean, you can't invent his speed.
All right.
I mean, how many times have we seen him hit a routine ground ball and it's a hit? I mean, he's incredibly fast. He's a terrible base stealer. But he's so fast, he creates so much havoc on the bases, and he's been just a nightmare. So it was the right move. It's a shame. It's a shame that he can't harness that speed and become kind of the second coming of Billy Hamilton. And maybe eventually he will. But it was the right move, in my opinion.
Feels like somebody else is going to unlock, right, Jim? Other Jim.
Yeah. Well. Look, Bae's done this before, though, right? Like
right.
He teases you with like those things that you really can't teach, but then when he actually has to go out and play real baseball, then it starts looking a little rough. So, you know what? If he does, good for him. Had to happen. I question why he even made the 40-man or the 26-man whenever. How many at bats later he's already being jettisoned? Now, Canario changes that a little bit, but
I mean, part of it I think is with him in particular, you get a guy who seems to have all the tools, seems to do all the right things, seems to say all the right things. You push him as hard as you can in spring and he continues to do the right things. Then you bring him up under the bright lights and for whatever reason, this guy just wilts. And when you see that in a guy, like, it doesn't matter how hard you've trained them or what you think you've taught them. Once you push them into the pool and they look like they're going to drown, you don't play around, right? I mean, and that's what Ji-hwan Bae looked like in his only shot that he got this year.
It's interesting because typically they wait forever to do these things. And this time it's, what are they, 2-5 now? So 7 games into the season. Right. I don't even know how many bats he has. It can't be more than a handful. And they've made the switch. Now, I think the Canario thing maybe had a little bit to do with that. They are probably looking for someone more that just profiles to at least can hit the ball over the fence. So,
well, that's what this guy can do, supposedly, Jim Maruca. I'm going to have to keep doing it that way. I don't want to say JM or JM. That's ridiculous. I think we'll just stick with sounding confused about which one I'm talking to, and whichever one of you feels convicted about it, you can talk. but we we
got
have
through it with Rosati, so we can
it
do
worked.
it. We can do it with Jim here.
This Canario guy. I'm going to follow on my sword. I don't know all that much about him. You know, Ethan Smith wrote a nice piece on my site about him. I saw Anthony Murphy and his team over at Bucks on Deck put out a nice scouting report about him. But shooting is not seeing, and I just don't know what to expect here.
So he's got like what 45 plate appearances, not very many in the big leagues.
Right.
I looked up the stats. I don't have them in front of me.
Decent average though. I think he hit like 286 or something, and
His ops has
runs.
been over 800 in the minors. In the low minors, his strikeouts weren't bad. As he got in the Double A and Triple A, they started to get into the 30% ratio. But he hits for a lot of power, and he hasn't had much of an opportunity in the big leagues. And for the Pirates, I mean, you hope he's the. I always use Garrett Jones as the example that somebody just finally finds their footing. He's only 24, right?
right.
Yeah,
He's 24. So he's a young guy, hasn't had a lot of experience. He's worth a shot.
Young enough to make a difference.
What are we worried about? He's
Probably-
going to strike out? For the
No,
Pirates?
I don't think it's that so much as, man, this is like a 2022 move. You know, this is what I want you to do like in 2022, not now. Like, this is very much, to me, Jim, along the lines, other Jim who's be here all the time. It's why I think a lot of people got irritated with the Horowitz trade, because it's the same kind of situation. Limited MLB experience, that's kind of nice to have. You're excited about what he could do. You've seen him do some stuff, but then you've got like that specter of, I don't know, we're going to be kind of giving him a shot here. And then what if they don't give him a shot, Jim? What if we're still staring down the barrel at Pham like playing just about every day?
Yeah, I mean, that's always a thing, right? Like, it's not just about one guy. It's like two or three, because they're all connected in some way, shape, or form. I will say this about Canario is, I mean, this is his profile. It's been his profile throughout the minors. Is he has big power, he will strike out, and he surprisingly walks a little bit. So I don't think anybody's going to be surprised. He could be a late bloomer, but Gary, what you said is you go back to the whole thing, which is you should be looking for more sure things right now at this stage of the game in 2025. So better in the regard of, I think he's a little intriguing, but I'm not really looking for intriguing right now.
Yeah, it's like he could really work out. He could turn into Brian Giles, and then, you know, I'll eat crow. It's just, and you know me, I don't care if I'm right or wrong about it. It's just, I'd rather see you take a bigger swing. Like this news came out right after the news came out that Ryan Mountcastle was being put on the block. You know, so like that's out there being dangled, and then this is what you showed up with. Again, it's not that I'm turning away, you know, a hamburger because it had pickles on it and I'm not happy. I'm just
right. Gary, what you're saying is we want Transformers now for Christmas. We don't need GoBots. And I think that's where we're at, right? We're hoping for Transformers, and we're getting a GoBot. So that hasn't changed a whole lot, I don't think.
Well, that's a really good point, OG Jim. I'm going to go. Thank you, Longbeard, for that awesome nickname. Let's go ahead and take a quick break and come back. Let's talk about somebody that we should probably have a lot more respect for than we've been speaking like online, getting sent down to AAA.
At DK Pittsburgh Sports, we take pride in coverage that connects our city's fans to their favorite teams. Now, that connection's stronger than ever. Introducing our all-new state-of-the-art app. Find expert inside reporting and original podcasts. Check live box scores. Track the latest stats. Chat it up with our community of thousands of fans, all in one place. The new app from DK Pittsburgh Sports. Coverage that connects.
All right, welcome back to the Pirates Fan Forum here on DK Pittsburgh Sports Podcast Network. I am Gary again. OG Jim is with me, and Jim Maruca is with me, and we are going to talk a little bit about David Bednar. I'm going to start with Mr. Maruca. David Bednar gets sent down. I saw an awful lot of like, don't let the door hit you where the good Lord split you there, fatty, things like that. I think he should be handled with a little bit more respect. 3.5 years of all-star closer worthy work for this team, even though they weren't really in the business of winning a lot, still deserves a little bit more respect than he's getting treated with right this second.
Oh, I agree wholeheartedly. I found it interesting what you reported about the average 3.5 years of, high velocity back end relievers. That tends to be when they run out of gas. And a lot of people were talking about the idea of trading him a year or two ago.
Yeah.
And I was in favor of it. To trade these guys at their maximum, especially I think at the time the Pirates were out of the race. So what good is a closer, no matter how good they are, if you're not in the race? But the thinking was, well, next year we'll be in it and that type of thing. So
right.
But no, I don't. I live up here in Cranberry. He grew up down the road from me here. So I don't wish any ill of him, but they couldn't just keep throwing him out there in the late innings. It's just crazy.
Yeah.
I think there's still a chance he gets right, but you wonder about the wear and the tear on an arm of a closer. And there are people saying, he'll never be right. I don't want to believe that, but it's certainly right to get him off the roster temporarily. Can I just insert one thing on top of this? It's not specific to Bednar. I don't know why managers don't handle back-end relievers the same way they do a slumping hitter. To me, I think a reliever can slump. So you just use your eyes and go in front of the press and say, hey, this is our guy. He's great. We love this guy. He's slumping. Hurdle will do this occasionally, but don't be so mechanical about it. Keep throwing him out there. You say he's in a bit of a rut now. We're going to go, with Santana for a while. We're going to get him right in lower leverage situations, and instead of just being so mechanical and throw. So what do? We mechanical, throw him out there, and then we throw him down to AAA.
I love the thought, for real. Here's a dude that didn't think he was going to bring anything to the party, Jim.
Dude,
listen to that.
I'm telling you, Jim is good. This is good.
I loved it.
Okay, so there's a couple things, Jim, I want to talk about what you just mentioned about, the handling of him. But first, let's get back to the original thing, which is how he's being treated. There's this, I think we see this even nationally a lot. Like, we like to build people up and then kind of tear them down. And this is or kick them when they're down type situation. And I think that's what's going on here a little bit.
Or you're edgy if you hate the local guy. Right.
Yeah. There's that element to it. And I just feel like it's just surprising to me that more people are just not like, man, I hope he goes down there and figures it out. And I'm sure there are a lot. We tend to remember the outrageous things we hear and see on social media. But yeah, for me, it comes back to the whole thing was, I'll ask both of you this. Why in the world did they handle this like they did in the first place with him in spring? And then coming in, they could have set this up totally different. And they almost avoided talking about it or calling him the closer. Or
I mean, I'll take a crack here, if only because we talked last year on the show about our biggest concern with his arbitration number was this team getting stuck into a stupid decision because of it. I wanted them to offer less so that they didn't feel compelled to just come back with him, shove him in the same spot, and pretend everything was going to be fine. And I feel like that's what they ended up doing. They got to the point where they were paying him $6 million, and they're like, he's going to be the closer. Let's just blame this on Florida. It's the wind taking these balls that normally would be caught on the warning track, and it's guys who normally would be taking a pitch, swinging, something because it's spring training. That's all it is. Let's get into the season and see what happens. And David just continues to serve up softball after softball after softball, doing the same thing he was doing last year. I'm glad they made the decision. Okay. And I don't think it would have been less embarrassing for David to not make North with the team out of spring than it is to get optioned as after the season started. It's not like it's a either or type thing to me. The question I have first too, I think the whole Bednar thing, the way it's been handled, this is a mercy killing. Look at him on that mound. That kid looked like I need to be anywhere but here. Like this was a mercy killing for a guy that you do not want to continue to run out there and let the lion eat the last bits of. Okay. Right. So there's that. Optioning him, though, I didn't expect them to do it. I didn't expect them to have the seeds to do it. That's why I think it was a mercy thing that they almost talked about it, I bet.
It's just crazy to me that, like, if you're convicted enough to put him in those situations and then 3 appearances into it, now all of a sudden he's back in AAA. I question that whole logic from start to finish, from spring training and how they were dealing with him to almost avoiding calling him the closer to then putting him in the high leverage situations to 3 appearances later, he's no longer even going to be on the roster. All I'm saying is like they may be right at the end of it, which is he needs to go down and figure things out. It's just the process kind of tells me, what in the world are you doing? Like the whole thing is just weird. So that's what stuck out with me. Jim, is there anything else you want to add with it?
No, I agree with all that. And I get frustrated generally with the way the bullpen's handled. It feels so mechanical. Hurdle used to do it. He'd use somebody in the 8th inning they decided that morning they were going to use. And it's crazy. You watch the game. I don't know why they couldn't have either, like Gary said, start him in AAA or, use him in less leverage situations. You look at the situation. I miss the days when they use a fireman. If the 8th inning, the 2, 3, 4 hitters come up, you use your fireman, your best guy. So I just think it was a total shambles how they handled Bednar. You got to use your eyes. They use the hot hand. I keep thinking about. I knew you guys would talk about this, and I thought about Leland with the Tigers. I think it was 2007, and he had like 4 guys that had closer stuff, and he feathered them in depending on the situation. And Hurdle was tough. Leland was tough. He said, I give you the ball, I expect to get outs. I'm not going to give you a title. He had his closer only threw like 94 miles an hour. I forget his name. He was dependable. But all these 100-mile-an-hour guys, it's like, when I give you the ball, get outs. And, and he wasn't as mechanical about it. He used his eyes. Hurdle's one of the few managers, I'm going to shut up after this, that when a starter came out in the 6th inning and the first 2 balls get hit to the warning track, he went up to the mound and got them. And people said maybe he had too short of a hook. But, I don't know how many times I've sat in PNC with Hurdle and now with Shelton, and people are in the stands say, take him out. Like, can't you see that he's tired? Like, the balls are getting smoked. They weren't the first 5 innings. Now they're getting smoked. You got to use your eyes. I think you needed to use your eyes with Bednar. I guess it took me forever to get to my point, but
I would agree with all of that, though. And
they weren't using their eyes with Bednar, and now it's almost like they embarrassed him. So it's a shame. But I hope he comes back and is stronger than ever. I'm not rooting against him, but I'm really glad they got him off the team too at the same time.
Me too, because the bigger story I think Jim and Jim squared here is they didn't do anything to bolster this position that they knew might be scary.
That's a big story.
Yeah.
I understand, like, okay, if you got outbid for Chapman by $500,000, I wouldn't have wanted to give him a raise either. $10 million is a lot of money. Like, I think that's plenty to offer somebody like that, but that doesn't mean like you just don't go and try to get anyone else. Like they knew they were coming in with risks, Jim Stam.
Yeah.
And here we are.
Yeah, that's the thing, right? I mean, like whether you want to talk about offense or the bullpen or whatever, which is these are not surprises. They're not. We've known this since last year. When you do very little to address or change that, and you just hope that Holderman is Holderman again, and he hasn't looked like Colin Holderman in pushing 9-10 months now. Bednar, we already know what's going on there. You'll lose Chapman. I mean, you're talking 3 of your high leverage guys that you either no longer have or they don't look like the same players. And okay, great. You went out and got a couple other dudes and they've looked pretty well. Let's give the rest of the bullpen some credit, by the way.
Yeah.
The rest of the bullpen hasn't embarrassed themselves. But they're not the dudes that you're going to need to get you that, get you home at the end of the game. So I just, this is the problem with the Pirates is it's a lot of hope, and then there's no backup plan after hope.
I would totally agree, man. It's just a shame that they let it get to this point. I ultimately think they have enough arms to come out of it with a decent bullpen. I just feel like they make decisions based on like trying to hold on to extra bodies or just things that don't fit necessarily the narrative of trying to put the best unit you possibly can together. And it kind of goes in the face of everything you're trying to get accomplished. Ready to do our first Call Your Shot?
Yeah, let's give away a shirt.
Yeah,
These things are sweet.
Let's remember the shirt. Here's the shirt. Call Your Shot. Our friends at Shop Yinzz. And we're going to launch it in a different way every week. Taylor is going to be telling us what the questions are.
Yo, what's up, guys? Taylor here from Shop Yinzz. Hope you're doing well. We are ready to kick off our very first Call Your Shot of the week with Pirates Fan Forum. Yinzz came in hot with questions this week. We couldn't pick one, so we picked 2. Let's check out the picks and see who's taking home that new t-shirt this week. Winner 1, JW, aka Silky Chubbs. His question is, knowing Gonzalez was going to be down for an extended period of time, why do you feel that they didn't call up York for extended look instead of what appears to be handing Frazier the starting second base job?
It was a great question. And first, that's Taylor, the owner of Shop Yinzz. Free t-shirt for JW. And Silky Chubbs sounds like he should be working for Doge, which is awesome.
I'm just not even going to comment.
It's a great question, though, for real, and one that a lot of people have asked. When Gonzalez got hurt, I think the automatic assumption that a lot of people made was we'll get Nick York up here, right? And I had pointed out, like on a side chat with Josh and the boys, like I was brainstorming a little bit, and I'm like, what if they see Frazier as the starter? Because that would change who they bring up. Lo and behold, what do they see, Jim? Frazier as the starter, and Valdez comes up. And it's not been awful. Adam Frazier's been better than I think we forecasted early on here. At least defensively, he looks like he's had a little bit of a resurgence. Almost back to what he was. He's getting really to the balls on the left. Great. And his turns on the double plays, I think he saved IKF a couple times. And he's made a few really, really good defensive plays to get outs at home or even just keep things in line. I have no complaints about him defensively. Offensively, I think he's a limited player, and I think he plays like one. Why wasn't it Nick York? I don't have a good answer for this because that's the decision I would have made.
We talked about this a little last week, I think, which is, and I'm still of the belief that they just feel like Nick York is worth being a little more careful with, and wanting him to probably get off to on a really good start. He had a really good game today, by the way.
Had a rough spring.
Let him get rolling and then bring him up. I don't have an issue with that with this particular case. Let me say this about Adam Frazier. As much as I have totally lambasted this move and said I can't stand to see him on the roster, Gary, he's making plays in the field. He's making the right decisions. Jim, he's putting the ball in play when he needs to. It might not be a hit, but he gets a run in situationally. He's a veteran. As much as I don't want him on this roster, from what I've seen in the first 7 games, at least he does those little things because other guys have not been. And I will give him credit for that to this point.
Yeah, I agree. I don't have much to add to that. I wanted to see Nick York. I wanted to see Billy Cook. But Frazier's almost been now with the injury to Gonzalez a stabilizing factor. Just dumb luck, maybe, right?
Yeah, and I don't know that you could even expect it to last. I'm just saying at the very get-go, he's done the things that no one else has done or has struggled to do, which when you need to push a run across the plate, please hit the ball. Please, you know what I mean? Like, please, just even if it's a bouncer or a fly ball, just get that part done, please.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have to think it's sustainable, and I don't have to backtrack and claim that I think it was the right signing or the best thing to do. But I do have to say, when a guy's playing well, he deserves to be talked about as though he's playing well. Okay, I don't need to resent him. And I don't think he's ever a guy where his batting average is going to be like something that people woo-hoo at. But we're 7 games in. I haven't even looked at a batting average yet. Yeah. I really mean that. I don't even look at the batting average yet. Like, and Jim knows because he reads everything I write. I rarely reference like a batting average. I just
that's good.
Early on because who cares?
Then don't check Tommy Phams.
Seriously.
Obviously, I see them once a day, like when they post the lineup, but it's not pretty. And I know what's going on. Just in general, from 7 games, you can memory capture how somebody's doing over 7 games, but their average, it just right now just doesn't matter. If you've watched every game, you probably have a favorable opinion of certain guys and an unfavorable opinion of other guys. And I would bet that if you challenged yourself to do that without looking at the batting averages, and this is just everybody at home, challenge yourself to look at that roster. Who do I have a favorable opinion of? Who do I have an unfavorable opinion of? I bet it doesn't line up by batting average that they actually have right now.
Or it's just too early to be looking at that stuff, really, at this point. You're just looking for good at bats, right? I mean, whether you're doing anything with them or not, result-wise. So, a lot can change, obviously.
All right, well, let's talk about another weird situation that's going on. Brian Reynolds' injury situation where he's got this triceps thing going on, and it's forced him to be a DH only. And because he's a DH only, Kutch is a DH only, they both can't kind of play together. And I don't know how seriously they're taking this Kutch getting a first base mitt thing, but they seem awfully committed to him not trying the outfield anymore. My guess is his knees are probably 38-year-old knees. And having some 48-year-old knees of my own, I understand why it might hurt to walk on soft grass. I mean, I hurt myself all the time when I go golfing. I just I don't think there's a sustainable way through this. What do you think they do, Mr. Maruca?
Well, everybody's
if the
been
injury
saying
lasts another week. What do you do?
Everybody's been saying is Kutch alive, the last couple of days. Then the injury came out on Reynolds. That's a hard one. I mean, first base. I played first base in Little League. Not a good. I was never a good athlete, but I learned the position enough to know that the major league teams keep trying to just throw people out there, and the position's way more complicated than that. And it's not even about athleticism.
I told you you'd like him, Stan.
Listen, I'm in love with Jim right now. Totally in love with him.
Well, here, a good example is Josh Bell, who was an excellent athlete, and he was a disaster over there. And there are little things that people, I played it for 8 years. There are little things that you learn, like how far should I dive for a ball to the right? So Josh Bell did this all the time to our pitchers. He would dive halfway to second base and make an amazing catch, not thinking that, all right, the guy that's running to first base is their fastest guy. He's going to beat our pitcher to first base. What did I just do? I just caught a ball. It's not. Now, if there's a guy on third base, second base is going to score. That's good. You're preventing a run. Who cares about the guy running to first? But I'm talking about maybe there's nobody on. Those are the little nuances. You got to look over. Oh, the second baseman's right there. Don't dive that far. There's footwork. I think, Jim, were you the one that mentioned the not covering the bag properly the other day? Yeah.
So, I get a little crazy when it comes to
I went
base,
simpler
Jim.
on you. You were talking about using all four corners of the bag. That's a good technique for a first baseman. Spanky Kirkpatrick back in the 70s used to he'd step out in the foul territory. Josh Bell finally learned how to do that. But the one that drives me nuts is crossing the legs. And it's so simple. Most balls from third base and short, I'm driving you guys crazy, aren't I?
No,
but not this, dude.
I'll try and keep my rant short. I played first enough to know, everybody's right-handed in the infield except for the first baseman. A throw from third or short, you cheat. You step with your left leg. You know why? Because if it's going to tail left. Their balls they're not throwing you a curveball. They're throwing like a fastball grip. The ball is going to tail to your left. So to step. When I see guys step with their right foot towards third or short, I'm screaming at the TV. So anything to the left of second base, you step with your left foot. I understand. I would play Little League. The ball was coming up there like a softball. These guys are throwing 100-mile-an-hour fastballs from third and short. So you have to cheat. So you step with the left foot towards third and short. Second, if a guy's turning the ball, that ball could go either way. You have to react. You move your feet quickly. When I see a guy cross his right leg over his left, I want to murder somebody. I'm so angry. And I've seen a lot of plays where they step with the wrong foot. Had they stepped with the right foot, the guy would have been out because you can stretch properly if you use the right foot. So yeah, I'm a first base stickler. And no, I was not a good athlete. I was 2 left feet. But at least I learned how to play the position properly. And the reason this happens, and I'll shut up in 10 seconds. Most first basemen were converted. Very few people are Ryan Howard or Boog Powell. Most everybody was the best athlete on their high school team, played short or center field or pitcher or catcher. These guys are all converted in the low minors. Hopefully, a lot of times it's in the majors. So they're all converted athletes, and many of them, the coaches don't even know how to coach a position. I could probably coach that position better than anybody on their coaching staff right now. I swear I could.
Because I am a Pirates fan.
But yeah, Jim, that's not a high bar, first of all, for coaching assistants on the Pirates. But I think it goes back to when you look at Kutch. Could he do it? Yeah, I'm sure. But he's an old dog now too. It gets back to the whole, when you've got Kutch and that's all he can do is really DH, it hamstrings you. And it's been kind of hamstringing them a little bit the last couple years.
Now, if Reynolds keeps going 0 for 5, this won't be a problem much longer because they'll put him on the injured list, and
give him a 10-day.
Blame all the trouble at the plate on that and let him get a few days off to hang out and get his head right. They're not going to do that right this second. I'm talking this is if it struggles here, it goes on 2 weeks. But to me, if you're going to try to put Kutch in the field, put him somewhere he's familiar and just do it rarely.
Yeah.
I just don't see the effort in trying to teach him a position that he might play once or twice before he retires. It makes no sense to me at all. We got to get another call your shot in here. Second call your shot. Ready to do it?
Let's do it.
Gary, Jim, hold up. We got number 2 coming up. Before you answer those, let's hear this one. The winner here is Hollywood Wags. The Pirates already sent David Bednar down to AAA for his struggles. Do you think they'll send Holderman down if he continues to as well? Thanks for the great questions, everybody. Stay tuned every Wednesday. We'll be picking a winner on Twitter. So be sure to follow Shop Yinzz and Pirates Fan Forum and get your questions asked. Every Thursday will be the live show on YouTube with Gary and Jim, Pirates Fan Forum, and the live stream podcast will be out on the weekends. Thanks so much. Talk to you soon.
First of all, it would have been great if you hear this on audio. You're not going to get this, but Taylor's holding a bat, and it would have been awesome if he already had a torpedo bat. That's all I'm saying.
Or if he just turned and hacked his phone, like with it. Yeah. All right. So, I mean, another good question is Holderman in the same kind of danger that Bednar was in? And I don't know. I would have to think he's probably not too far away. They keep trying him. Holderman's a different case, though. Bednar last year had an oasis of effectiveness while absolutely still doing all the same things wrong in the middle of the season. He got a lot of saves that he collected in the middle of the season, even as he was struggling. Even as he was still giving up runs, he was managing to lock down those saves and rack up that number, right? Holderman was unfreaking hittable for the first 4 months of last year. And it was the second half. Now, the only fear really, and this is to either of you, is did they kill him? Because they overthrew him last year to get him to that point. And I guess that's where I'm at is, did they do permanent damage?
He's certainly been rode hard, if you will, at times. A lot of appearances, a lot of pitch count, innings, things of that nature. This goes back to what Jim was saying earlier sometimes with the confidence of these guys in these roles, and how do you take them out of those roles and still keep their confidence up? I don't know what the answer is with Holderman. I mean, someone's got to pitch these 7th, 8th, and 9th innings. I think you might see Maruca start to move down in that role somewhere. I really do. Just if A, he's looking good, B, by default, right? So I don't know what you do with Holderman because he hasn't looked right in a long time.
I think the two of them, Santana and Maruca, could probably hold it down for a minute here, but it's not a long-term answer. I think that Santana's got some good tools, but I'm not sure they're closer tools. I think they're just really good reliever tools. You know what I mean? And I think he can get by back there and help. Maruca, same thing. I'm not 100% sure. I think he's the dominant closer. He's good. You know what I mean? But I'm not sure that's what I want from him. Justin Lawrence is growing on me, but it's too early to be pretending that that's going to be the path. I don't know that they have one right now. I really don't.
Yeah, and Justin Lawrence too. Look, he's got one wipeout pitch, wipeout. But it's a little bit uneven at times. And then if he doesn't have that, boy, there's not a whole lot else he's going to have to get people out with. So I just, they're in a tough spot. Shelton's his strength hasn't been the bullpen managing anyway.
Oh, Lord, no.
But I don't know exactly where you go right now. I think it's Santana probably, but I agree with you, Gary. I look at Santana, I think he's fine. But this isn't a guy that I can see long-term being that answer.
Right. Jim Maruca, you're a critic of the bullpen usage. I understand completely. We talk about this a lot, you and I. Last year, I felt in many ways Shelton didn't have a choice to go to. I mean, I just felt like every button he pushed stunk, and there was just nothing he could do. And there was a period of time when it all collapsed.
Well, that gets back to what you said a minute ago, not to change the subject, which I'm famous for.
Oh, no, we're going to talk about first base again. I'm so disappointed. I'm kidding.
This plan is based around, this off season, I can kind of get not picking up the expensive bats. Some of these really pedestrian guys were getting 3 years, $60 million with 3 WAR. But the bullpen, there's no excuse. This off season, I'm not an expert on what free agents were available, but bullpen guys don't typically demand 3-year contracts like these home run hitters do.
Right.
And it just seems like that would have been a good place to spend money. And maybe not,
but they have precedent for spending money there, like we just talked about. They took a $10 million swing on a player in the bullpen last year. I find it almost unfathomable they didn't this year.
Exactly.
And granted, they got a couple guys like Caleb Ferguson. Jim, I loved the signing of Caleb Ferguson. I thought that was a great one. I love bringing Barecki back. I think Mesa's interesting. So it's not like I hate all their signings or whatever, but God, there's just no hammer.
Yeah.
That's the thing.
Well,
there's no hammer.
Well, and it is a market that the Pirates can play in with some
Exactly.
of the relievers,
Exactly.
with money, right? Like because of what Jim was saying, which is,
Right.
You're not talking more than maybe a 2-year deal with some of these, maybe 1 year, and like you can compete financially in that space, and they have done it a little bit. To not do it this year, whenever you have starting pitching, that's a little bit eyebrow raising, because this is a space where they can have some success with bringing guys in. You pay a little bit more for a reliever, you're probably going to get him.
And I think that's really what is probably more disappointing than even the bats. Like the bats, in both ways, actually, you could sit here and talk yourself into believing that they have the potential, backing all those positions, to feel like they're deep enough to kind of take a shot with some of those guys, and they'll get help and they'll improve. But much like going out and getting this outfielder that has some power now, okay, but I need somebody that has gotten outs in the back end. I don't need guys that look like they could get outs in the back end or might turn into guys who could get outs in the back end. That's not how you convince your team you're serious about learning how to close out games that they've fought hard to get you in position to win. That's, I think, what disappoints me.
I think too, like the other thing is you send guys down, or you start them down there like Nicholas or Harrington, you bring them up. You want somebody to take control of that on their own too, right?
Yeah.
Which is perform well. Perform well, and then you can be back into that situation, or when you get an opportunity. And this isn't to knock Harrington, it's first start, things. But again, take it and run with it. Nicholas, I think his first outing down in the minors wasn't good. So these are Majinski, the same thing. Wheels kind of fell off for him. These are all guys that could probably help their bullpen at some point. Ashcraft's another. I think was it John here in the comments mentioned Ashcraft. Same thing. Like, so look, they have some things in the mix. The guys got to run with that. Take it and run with it too.
Let's take another quick break. Come back. Let's talk a little bit about the home opener, huh? I did put it in the show title.
At DK Pittsburgh Sports, we take pride in coverage that connects our city's fans to their favorite teams. Now, that connection's stronger than ever. Introducing our all-new state-of-the-art app. Find expert inside reporting and original podcasts. Check live box scores. Track the latest stats. Chat it up with our community of thousands of fans, all in one place. The new app from DK Pittsburgh Sports. Coverage that connects.
All right, welcome back to the Pirates Fan Forum here on DK Pittsburgh Sports Podcast Network. Let's talk a little bit about the home opener. I think this is my, something like 23rd that I'll be going to this year, and I'm pretty excited about it. I love being back at PNC Park. It feels like home to me. I can't wait to be there. Even at 2 and 5, it's still going to be a fun atmosphere that I'm looking forward to.
You must have grown up I was just going to say, you must have grown up in an abusive home, Gary, if it feels like home to you.
Yes, but it was reciprocal abuse, so it's okay. I beat them back.
Okay, fair enough.
So the mighty Yankees are coming into town, and perhaps this has something to do with the lack of enthusiasm about what we're going to watch here. The Yankees are first in baseball with 19 home runs. The Pirates are tied for 24th with 4. The Yankees have scored 44 runs. The Pirates 19. Pirates have them beaten ERA They're under 4. The Yankees are over 4. That's the only thing there. I would break down how this series would go, except the only feasible way the Pirates win is if they win by luck and they get hits and they get great pitching performances and ride it through to the end, right?
Yeah, I mean, go ahead, Jim. I'll let you start off.
I'm speechless on this. After watching that first game against Milwaukee with the torpedo bats, it's hard to be. I'm a really big naive optimist. I'm the worst. I mean, I'll find the silver lining in anything, and I'm having trouble finding a silver lining on this series. But sometimes they play up to their competition and surprise you. I mean, Miami beats them 3 out of 4, which was crazy. So watch them turn around these next 3 games and play competitively and win 1 or 2 of them, even though it doesn't make any sense on paper.
Like that series they went out and swept LA a few years ago.
Exactly. I mean, exactly.
Peter Marcano went ape, right?
Yeah, they beat the Astros, I think, 3 games in Houston when they hadn't lost but 10 games there all year. So they do have a habit every once in a while of doing that. Yeah, it looks lopsided. Yankees starting pitching, I don't know how good it is. Maybe the Pirates finally have a good game offensively to offset some of that, but probably not going to be a pleasant series. But it's baseball, and that's why teams don't spend money and still hope to win, because sometimes in these series you can get lucky and do it.
I would agree entirely. I think that there's not much intrigue really when it comes to this series. It's just going to be baseball. Watch baseball. If you like baseball, that's what it's about. The Yankees and Dodgers right now are so head and shoulders above everyone else statistically. It's frightening.
Yeah.
And then there's some weird teams out there, just stacked teams performing terribly. How are the Braves 0-7?
Yeah.
0-7.
They got a worse batting average than the Pirates.
Yeah.
What's going on?
And that's the thing, for a team like the Braves, it's early, but 0-7 is 0-7. The odds are against you at that point, historically even.
They're 0-7. They're playing the Dodgers now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did not know
This
that.
is going to get theoretically worse.
I am, being a little bit of a baseball nerd, and I want to see these torpedo bats, right? I don't know how much I want to see them in action, but it'll be interesting. Hey, I know my son is 8 and he's looking forward to seeing Aaron Judge, and so I'm just going to try to enjoy it. It's baseball. The Yankees are in town. Aaron Judge is in town. But the Pirates are going to need to pitch well, and it's a shame we're not getting. Obviously, Jones can't, and Skeens isn't in the mix for this series. That would have been nice to see.
Well, they got the torpedo bats. I guess they've started making their way here already. O'Neill Cruz has already used one reportedly, and Jared Triolo is another guy that's got a couple shipments coming. So we'll see what happens there. I don't think it's been something that was really a well-kept secret in the league. I think the Yankees announcers drew attention to it and kind of blew it up into a phenomenon, because as they were talking about it, their team went ham and destroyed the Milwaukee Brewers' hopes and dreams for a day. And I think they set the fire on this thing. I don't think it was hidden or anything. It made me feel like they had come up with something new instead of cheating, but that's not the case when you really look into it. It's been around for a couple of years. So we'll see what happens. I don't think it's going to help anybody particularly, or I would imagine they'd already be using it.
Yeah, and if they go bonkers at PNC Park this weekend, I'm sure the cries will be louder, even from baseball in general, fans in general, about it. I am curious to see how the fans are at the park this weekend. Obviously, the start has been less than stellar, and people are kind of at the end of their rope. it'll be really interesting to see the vibe and feel it there.
Yeah. Jim, what do you think? You're going to be there, or are you staying home this
No,
time?
I won't be attending, but I'll be watching.
I'll be there. I like to freeze every year. That's why I did that polar plunge. I figured, what's the difference? No, I mean, it's just a thing I try to do every year. So I'm looking forward to it. Got hooked up this year. Our friend Jack Micah, I think you've met him, Jim.
Mhm.
He hooked me up with tickets, so super excited to go this time. I don't care about any of the stadium food though, and it's a Lenten Friday, so my wife's Catholic and I'm not, so I don't know where she's going to find fish in that stadium. Maybe she'll have Permani's fish sandwich or something. I don't know what they have.
And of course, you won't eat in front of her anything really good because you're classy. I know that.
Well, it's more about being cheap, but
You're not going to spend $34 on what are they, cannonball pierogies or?
I mean, the way I see it, Jim, that would be me crossing the line and helping Bob Nutting, and I just can't bring myself to do it. So.
It depends, Gary. Depends on that.
Don't you?
Hey,
does.
do you want Tommy Pham re-signed or not? That's the question.
No. So if I get that sandwich, you're telling me he will?
I think that the odds go up just a little bit.
All right. Well, I mean, in all sincerity, though, I think what I like most about the home opener is it's a good opportunity to kind of meet your team, and you usually get your eyes on the new toys that you were excited about all off season. For those of you that don't get a chance to go down to spring training, it's really like your first opportunity to get your eyes on them. This year, though, that's not really there. There isn't like that guy I'm waiting to get that loud roar when he gets announced. I mean, it sounds wrong to say, but the fan base is tired of Kutch. I mean, like 3 years after your return, it's not the same as it was. I'm sorry. He'll get a cheer because he deserves one, but it's not going to be like it was that first year. And Brian Reynolds is coming off a cold stretch, and O'Neal Cruz, for some reason, half of the fan base thinks is mentally impaired. You know, like,
do we want to touch on that real quick before we go?
Sure. Go ahead.
You know, I was just gonna say, there's the O'Neal Cruz discourse. First of all, I'd love to see him have a big series. Show up for the Yankees series, and big boy.
Show him what you do with a short porch.
Yeah. So I would just love to see that. I think he's doing some really good things. People are on him right now about some things. Listen, I think people confuse laziness with just brain farts and not staying focused. I think those are two completely different things. And O'Neal Cruz seems to have a lot of the brain farts. I don't think he's a lazy guy at all, but I do think he situationally forgets some things at times, and that's where his problem is. So that's my 2 cents on it. If you guys have anything before we get the hell out of here.
Go ahead, Jim.
Well, he's one of the few bright spots. I'm looking at his numbers, batting 261, 400 on base, 522 slugging, 922 ops. He's walking, he's stealing bases. So offensively, you have no problem with him. He's a superstar. And yeah, I like Jim's his wordology, brain farts. Since I'm the old guy, I'll be inappropriate in borderline races. He's a Dominican. So many of them are happy-go-lucky. I don't know what it is about the Dominicans, but it seems like brain farts are common among Dominicans. It's always dangerous to paint any group of people with a broad brush, but you get Polanco.
No, you're not
Polanco
wrong.
was notorious.
You're not wrong though. It's a factory.
But I just wanted
Dominican is a factory type situation.
I just wanted to say I don't get a bad vibe from him. I think he's a good kid. He'll have a mental lapse once in a while, but this isn't a lazy guy that does it. I think he's got intensity. I think he cares. But yeah, you're going to have a mental mistake, throw to the wrong base once in a while. He has so few reps in the outfield, which, by the way, all of us were screaming for him to move to the outfield 2 years ago. It took them forever. I think they were being polite to him. He wanted to play short, so they respected that. But people have been saying, he runs like a gazelle. He has the strongest arm in baseball, and he can cover a lot of ground. That outfield just makes so much sense. He finally did it. So I think we just have to weather his mistakes. He hasn't had enough opportunities to develop the instincts and know the things that are just standard, like throwing to second base when the guy running home from third isn't an important run, things like that.
I agree with what you're saying, but I think like a guy like Cruz, you do start to get to the point where you're brushing up against decision time. You're brushing up against that point where you got to decide whether you're going to try to extend him or he's going to be a guy that you wind up trading one day. And you're right on that edge. It's within the next year or two here, they've got to make that decision. So I personally would like to know whether this guy's going to play the field or not. So this is the year I got to know. And something I don't give him excuses for that I think other people do about the outfield. Of all the people on that team, the one person that should know the most about when you don't want to hit the cutoff man is Oneil Cruz, who was the perma cutoff man last year. He knows all the situations. He knows all the places you're supposed to be. He knows all the places that ball's supposed to come. I don't want to pretend that he went out to the outfield and forgot it, because he didn't.
No,
What it is he's got a Ferrari for an arm and he wants to drive it, and he doesn't have any place where he can really open it up.
Yeah, I think. Look, what we're really talking about here, and this is with all players, the baseball IQ, right? The things that don't show up on stat sheets, but guys have that. Some guys don't. And it's the part of O'Neill's game where, look, he's probably gotten away with godlike ability forever, right? That he could get away with being sloppy, and he could get away with making a mistake. He could make it up.
Yeah.
But at this level, against this competition, the microscope is on you. You got to tighten that stuff up, dude. You really do. I just think to call it lazy is a total mischaracterization.
To call it lazy is a mischaracterization. To not be able to criticize it at all because it's automatically racist is just as stupid.
It's ridiculous.
Like,
It's ridiculous.
you're to the point online where like you say like Jack Sawinski misplays a fly ball, and somebody doesn't see that, but they see you criticize Oneil Cruz next, and you are like the biggest bigot in the world. And it's like, do I have to like literally reference every tweet that I've ever sent to show you like that I criticize other people as well? Oneil Cruz gets criticized for one reason, because people expect more out of Oneil Cruz because they know he's a good player. And I used this analogy the other day. I'm going to use it again. Evgeny Malkin on the Penguins is this exact type of person. He screws up and you get really, really pissed, because how dare he turn over that puck breaking into that offensive zone? He does it all the freaking time. You've just watched 5 other players do it in the last 8 shifts. You didn't say a word. But the one you say a word about is Evgeny Malkin. Why? Are you racist against Russians? No. Evgeny Malkin's a great freaking player, and you expect better out of him. Same with Oneil Cruz. Those skills, you expect better out of him. That's why you criticize him. That's why everyone criticizes him. Because if he would stop having those brain farts, if he would stop losing his focus, if he did stay dialed in, we all see what he could be.
Yep, sky's the limit.
But I guess that's racist. So
you're right about that. If you can't, if we're all, I think, of the same mindset. I mean, we're just talking about the player and how
there are people like that out there.
Yeah, there are,
but they're worthy of being ignored, just like any other troll. I could care less what they say. That's what the mute button's for. Stupid when you see it, ignore it.
Yep.
But if I talk about a guy running past a ground ball or lollygagging to the wall to pick up a baseball to throw it in, I'm sorry, that's not racist. That's a critique of somebody that can do freaking better.
Well, perfect example is, Andy, I got on him about the first base thing, and hey, look, he's still learning it, obviously. But then he made a really smart play, ran right to the glove at second base, disrupted a throw. You talk about that too. Talk about the good, you talk about the bad, and it doesn't have, at least for us or me, doesn't have anything to do with anything else other than that, man. Was it a good play or was it not?
I was about to start singing the facts of life.
Oh,
All right, everybody. Hey, this has
you
been
always
really,
had a
really...
crush on Natalie. We won't go into that.
Natalie. No, sir. I was a Blair fella.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Very, very good show, everybody. Jim, I think you had a wonderful debut on the show.
Good
Thank
job,
you.
We're going to be
dude.
asking for your stories now.
it was fun. Thanks for having me.
It was a good time, man. We're going to toss it off to Ben, Jim, unless you got anything else to add.
I don't. Let's enjoy the home opener and any other games you get to before this weather gets really cold. It's coming.
Yeah, have a happy home opener. I'll see you there. And if you see me, don't complain about the Pirates in front of my wife. She doesn't deserve that. That's for just me.
Let's go, Bucks!
Yeah, buddy.